with my friend Adam of the Game Goblin in downtown Geneva, Ohio. Well, Adam, tell me a little bit about why you started the Game Goblin and maybe how you chose the name.
I started the Game Goblin because this hobby requires a community, and you don't get community out of places like Amazon or big box stores. The name I chose, I just had to find something that sounded good and was fantasy related and wasn't taken by anybody else. So.
Yeah. How many years have you been here in Geneva?
We were just in our 4th year.
Excellent. And so what is your focus? We do a lot of the role-playing games.
It varies depending on season and people, but role-playing games are always popular. Right now, miniature war games with painting and collecting and assembling the figures, like models almost.
Yep.
Playing on the boards over there. That seems to be a current hot trend.
And with the role-playing games, you're a creative yourself, and you have to write out a lot of scenarios, or you could play like sort of pre-packaged games scenarios. What do people like to do when they come and have an event at your store?
Usually it's homemade stuff. People create their own worlds and based on other things, and then they run games.
And so that includes the minifigurines and the sets. And
when the war game stuff comes, usually there's like a scenario you're playing out. You know, you're trying to accomplish these objectives, and you get points for those objectives.
And those could be one-day events or multi?
Usually with the miniatures, it's a one-day event, usually 2 to 3 hours per game.
Pretty intense.
Yeah, the bigger games run that long. Yeah. There's been a big push on skirmish-sized war games, which are much smaller and quicker to play. You can do one of those in an hour, hour and a half.
And as far as like the community inclusivity, they tell you what they want and what the kind of the beat on the street is. I know that this type of genre changes and what the hot things are all the time. So you take a lot of clues from your customers.
I have an active Discord. Yeah. And that's when regulars can get in there and they can actually say things, or they can just come into the store and talk to me and chat. And that's the whole idea of having a public space like this, is that these people are fans of it. They can actually come in and talk and find out what the new items are, what the new hotness is. They can meet other people who might know games and things that they never heard of that they might want to try.
If you were very new to this is a very open and comfortable place to ask questions.
Oh, certainly.
What would you suggest if somebody's new? What would to stick their toes in the water?
Role-playing games are always great. We run beginner games frequently on mostly Dungeons and Dragons. And all that's really required is you bring yourself. And usually the other stuff is supplied at first.
So it's just a way to test out and see if you like that kind of activity, and without investing tons and tons of money and time.
Certainly, yeah. And people can come in and talk to me about it. I don't try to sell them anything. I just tell them like it is. Very honest about that.
Good. That's not what I expected you to say. So I know this sort of world is new to a lot of people, but you've been doing this for a long time. So when you got started as a preteen?
Yeah, generally with like Dungeons and Dragons and most role-playing games, starting age is around 13, 14 years old. When I was 12, I was really bummed out after we had to move. So my mother knew I liked dragons and such things, so she found a Dungeons and Dragons box at a garage sale and gave it to me. And that was
rest is history.
85, 87. So it's been downhill since then.
Come on, natural 20. And if you're not a role player, you have an awesome selection of really cool board games and card games like Pokemon and that kind of stuff too. So you can get that here.
And usually find others that play the games.
See, that's perfect.
And when it comes to the board games, you buy them here and play them here, we can help you learn how to play them.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't know, we can look it up.
Yeah, there's some really interesting ones, Finders, Creepers.
Yep, I have a small selection of more creepier games.
Yeah.
Like Antiques Roadshow, I have Antiques Ghost Show.
There's tons of sub-genres in all of this kind of fantasy world and board games and card games. Do you see a lot of crossover with like video games and gaming and board games and stuff like that? Is it kind of everyone's world?
Yeah, it's become very multimedia.
Multimedia, that's the word I was looking for.
The Baldur's Gate is a recent video game that came out that brought some people into the actual pen and paper world from video games because it's set in one of the settings of Dungeons and Dragons. The Dungeons and Dragons movie that was just out not too long ago did really well. Yeah, so yeah, it's crossed many boundaries. Well, a lot of the people that created these role-playing games back in the 70s, a lot of them were computer math guys. They were the early nerds. They were the first forerunners of the programmers of now. So you'll find a lot of creatives and a lot of the programmers have role-playing game, pen and paper, tabletop RPG roots.
Can I make up anything I want as a character, or are there guidelines?
There are guidelines.
For like types of games?
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
all right.
So in Dungeons & Dragons, you get things called classes and races, and you pick like elf warrior or elf wizard or something like that.
Got it, okay. Different characters have different sort of like
different roles,
attributes.
different skill sets and things, like you would in real life. If you're going to play a game, you want to get right into the game, you come with pre-generated characters, what they call pre-gens, and you would hand them out to the players. They do this at conventions too. So you can get right into the story and the action, and you don't have to build the character.
Do you like going to those types of conventions? And
I did. It's been a long time since I've been to one.
Yeah.
Biggest one is Gen Con, which used to be in Milwaukee when I went, when I was younger, but now is in Indiana. The Gen Con draws people from all around the world, the hundreds of thousands of people.
Wow.
This hobby and all of its whole umbrella thing is actually massive.
Yeah, I was doing a little research and I didn't realize just like how much went into all of that. I mean, I grew up in the 90s where everybody was playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I didn't realize just really how complicated it is as a...
There were always games other than Dungeons and Dragons before the 90s, but in the 90s is when everything kind of exploded. It's continued since then, but now with the advent of PDF files and stuff like that, you don't even need to print a game to make your own role-playing game anymore.
Wow.